Oh, that was weird. Okay. Okay. There we go. All right, I see somebody on there now. Sorry, this was such a strange start. If you were waiting. Hi, Susan. I don't know what button I must have pressed this morning when I went live, but apparently, I guess because I wrote the words and then went live like a minute later, it put you in a waiting room, which was weird. But anyway, let's see. Just trying to pick my background colors for this card. I don't know if this might be too much, so I don't want to get too much of it out. Hope you are doing well today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm just going to score this in case we use it as a base. So before we get started today I'm not doing facing front because my hair is very greasy. So in all honesty, that's why. If you're interested in getting the Hey Chick or the Hey Birthday Chick bundle, those are both available now. So you can purchase them. The Hey Chick bundle is $44. You may already have this stamp set. I did check all my stuff and sadly I must have given it away. So I'm going to have to order it again. But I think this would look really cute. I think I'm going to get these because I think they'll be super fun. Plus you could use them with the I think it's All Wired Up is the background stamp, which is cute. So, and then the Hey Birthday Chick bundle. So I'm going to order both of these. I think I'm going to do that today. So those are available now. And then coming soon, unless you want to join as a demonstrator, which would be fabulous, get extra stuff during celebration. The butterfly bouquet is available for pre-order for demonstrators. So if you join as a demonstrator, you can get it as well. It has two great designer series papers. There is a paper that has a lot of butterfly images, and then there is a natural birch paper, which is really pretty. The unique thing about this stamp set is it's all one stamp set. So you stamp all the butterflies, and then the die cut, you die cut all the butterflies. And it does come with some additional ones, which there's little hash marks, and then the little, what is this, like a brick wall. So it does have some really cute extra stuff. So you can get these if you join as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Otherwise they will become available March 2nd to customers. So if you have any questions about any of those products, just send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. This is our current host code. So if there's anything you'd like to get, you can certainly use that host code. You absolutely don't have to. And if your host code or your order is larger than $150, don't use the host code because you'll get all the rewards. Basically, what the host code does is it anyone who orders, what it does is it puts it under my name as the party. And then what I do is I order things with the host benefits to give away. So that's essentially what it does. Because if you have a smaller order, the smaller orders eventually do add up. One other thing I wanted to show you, I'm sure you guys remember this a while back. I did, and I'm going to do a little bit with this today. I need to get that out. I did that gilded leafing, and I added it with glue. This was with Tombow onto these branches. So I wanted to show you, this one was embossed the same way. You can kind of see it a little bit from the backside, but I ended up running this through the Old World map folder, which is kind of unique. So you kind of have the trees, and then you can also see the Old World map. So if you ever emboss something and maybe you put a little bit extra effort into it, you can always try, and you can see it much more from this side. You can always try re-embossing it. It kind of changes the appearance. So I could use this for a background piece, even if I just used a little part of it. So this was on, I think I'd used thick white paper for this. And then this one was actually on that pearlescent or pearlized, I can't remember, I think it's pearlescent paper, which is really pretty. So this embosses really beautifully as well. So we're going to use that today. So I thought we would do a mashup, and as soon as I saw this Stand Tall and Stand Out, I just knew I wanted to do something with the pineapple dies. So I'm sure a lot of you may have this already. This is in the Timeless Tropical. So we're kind of focusing on these two things today. And then I'm going to use the Stand Tall and Stand Out. And what I'm planning on doing is I want to make, so I'm not going to use any of the other dies. I'm just going to grab this sentiment. You never know, I might, but probably not. But I'm going to grab this sentiment and I'm going to mount it so we have it ahead of time. But what I was going to do is I was going to do a simple and then an advanced and then a really fancy card with pretty much the same supplies. So one thing I did do ahead of time, and I'll share it with you here, is I did die cut already 2 of the top parts of the pineapple and 2 bottoms. So this is Bumblebee. And interestingly enough, let me get this scrap out so I can show you, because you can appreciate it more. I was just doing a little bit of recycling. So a while back, I had used one of our masks, and you can see the pattern there. And I went over this with ink, and I did it kind of ombre. I started lighter at the top. And I had this piece that was sitting in my Granny Apple Green. So this is Granny Apple Green. No, Pear Pizzazz, I'm sorry. And it was sitting in the folder. And I had this piece that I hadn't used. So I thought, well, I'll just die cut the pineapple top out of it. So there's that. I did put some adhesive on the back to make it easier. And then I went a little bit darker, so I have another pineapple piece here, so I'll cut my third one out. This is Old Olive, so that was from here. Both of these were Bumblebee, and I didn't really do anything with it because you can pop all these out, but I do have adhesive sheet on the back because I thought it would be easier to take out all the little pop pieces and also just to stick it on a little bit simpler. So we are going to die cut one more. But what I thought is we can start with the simple card. We'll move to the, I don't want to say medium or advanced, because it's not really, it's like a step up, and then we'll go to the really fancy card at the end. So I was kind of thinking, when you're doing cards, so again, this one is in the annual catalog, this one is in the newer January to June mini. But when you're doing cards, so we did this one the other day, in case you missed this one on Facebook, and I actually did die cut the flamingos with the actual stamped flamingo, and I will say I like them much better than this. So if you're going to repeat this card, stamp it, then die cut it, because it looks way cooler. So if you're going to do this with these very intricate die cuts, using the adhesive sheet is really, really the way to go with sticking things on, because it just takes a lot of the extra work out of it. So this is my last third. This comes in a 6x12 sheet, and what happens when you take these pieces, you kind of peel them back, and I'll show you, but I'm not going to stick it on this one. And then I stick the paper in and put it down, so it kind of makes it easier. These are super handy for sticking on very detailed pieces that otherwise it would probably be kind of hard to get your glue on. So let's start with our number 1 card. So for this one, I'm just going to go with the plain Bumblebee, pineapple, and the Old Olive, but I'm going to sponge it just a teeny bit. And I don't know how this is going to look with this mango base. I was kind of trying to go for something a little bit fancy, but it might be a little bit too much. So we're going to take a peek at that. I have my sponge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Granny Apple Green with my sponge. I'm just going to pick a clean side. And I just want to sponge just a little bit of it, just to give a little bit. So this is still on the easy card because it's not really too complicated to do this. And you can fold these pieces in. Granted, we do have adhesive on the back, so they're going to come back a little bit, but that way we can, here's one more little piece here. I'm going to kind of get these pieces just a little bit more with that Granny Apple Green. So it's just giving a little bit of depth of color and a little bit more feel to it. So there's one. And for the Bumblebee, I'm just going to stick with Bumblebee because I don't want it to be too dark. So I'm going to do Bumblebee. And I'm going to grab another semi-clean sponge. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to ink, because I don't want it to be too dark. Because, you know, pineapples can be kind of dark on one side. I guess it kind of indicates their sweetness. So I'll keep the other side kind of light. Maybe a little bit darker at the bottom, wherever you decide the bottom is. So I have a little bit of shading on one side. It's pretty light over here. And then the bottom has a little bit. So there's that. So I'm going to keep both of these sponges out so I know what I have. And I'm just going to wipe this off. It's good. So for this one, again, let's see what this looks like if we're kind of keeping it somewhat simple. So I have Mango Melody base. I'm trying to think if either of these would work just for like a little bit of fancy. Let's just take a peek. Kind of just make the back a little bit exciting. I don't love it because you can still see the trees a little bit much through there, so I'm going to skip that. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to just add a simple piece of, this is the pearlescent paper. So this was just a scrap I had hanging around. I think it's probably 3 by 4. 3 by 4 1/4. So we're going to put this on. We're going to add our pineapple and we're going to do our sentiment. So the sentiment I'm going to do on a little scrap of white. And I'm going to do the sentiment in old, I think I'm going to do Old Olive. No, you know what? I'm going to go a little bit darker. I'll go with Mossy Meadow, just so it kind of stands out a little bit. This is just going to be on a little scrap that we're going to cut. So if you have any cardstock that you've trimmed, let's find a good place to go over here. If you've had any cardstock that you've trimmed, this would be a great place to stamp it because then you don't have to worry about it trimming it. It's kind of already trimmed. That's good. And of course, I recently cleaned my craft room, so I don't have any of that. I'm going to grab my snips. And I have been cutting, I'm going to go this way. I have been cutting adhesive sheet with these snips, and I really have to stop doing that because they're getting to the point where they're kind of starting to stick a little bit. 1, 2. Okay. So let me throw this away. So what I've been doing lately is I've been kind of writing down some ideas. So while we have this, I'm going to see if there's anything else just for a background, just to make a little bit of something. Maybe we'll do a couple pineapples. So I'm going to just pull out this pineapple. Again, that's from Timeless Tropical. Put this on. I don't want it to be too dark though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Daffodil Delight. I'm just going to stamp just a couple of these. And I'm not going to make them straight. I'm just going to kind of go across. So we'll just kind of go, because we are going to have that little piece in the middle that's going to cover up. So we don't really need to do the middle at all. You could change the direction of these if you wanted to. Okay. That's good enough. Just a little something. But what I've been doing lately is I've been trying to add, not trying to add, saying the wrong word. I've been trying to write down some ideas and kind of give myself sketches. And I will say, I think it's worked out kind of fun because it gives me things to work off of. And then when I look at them, it helps me to think of new ideas of like something I could either step it up or step it down. So, all right, so there's that. That's pretty well centered, I think. All right, and then we're going to just take the adhesive back off of this. Now, this should pop most of these little doodads out, if I've done it correctly. So I'm just going to pull, let me move this over. Just going to pull this, and it's going to peel almost all of them. So I do have a couple that are still in there. So what you can do is you can either poke them with your finger, and if you have your, oops, either your take your pick, or I like to use my old paper piercer. And I'm just going to pop them through. Since they have backing on the back of them, they're not going to stick to anything, and they kind of tend to fall a little bit better for the most part. If you have that little brush tool, you could use that too, but I never found that that worked very well for me. So again, we have all of those. So I'm going to just sit this onto my silicone mat for a minute. And then same thing. I didn't, for one of these, I don't have adhesive all over the whole thing, which I think is fine. So I'm just going to peel this off. So I don't know how all of you are doing, but we're potentially getting another snowstorm tonight into tomorrow. But yesterday, ironically, it was 53 degrees here. So in case you aren't aware, I live in Maryland. So I'm kind of in Harford County, which is like north central, about half an hour north of Baltimore City, if that gives you an idea. And sometimes we get totally crazy weather. And yesterday it was so nice. I was just like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm ready for spring. So I'm going to just kind of eyeball. I'm going to set this down, but I'm not really pressing it. I just kind of want to, oh, I missed one little spot. I kind of want to see if I like where I have it. But those kind of days make me, I'm done with the snow. But they said we could get up to 5 inches, which is totally crazy. All right, I'm going to put this here. So that looks pretty good. My dad actually went out to Western Maryland, so we have a mobile home. It's been in our family for a very long time. My grandmother and grandfather, my dad's parents, bought it a very, very, very long time ago. My grandfather had lung cancer. He was a coal miner, and he found that it was much easier to breathe out there. So my dad just bought it back for my uncle so it would stay in our family. So he's out there, and he said there was a foot of snow when he arrived. He couldn't even find in the driveway, which is kind of funny. But anyway, you get these little parts where you're ready. Like all right, I had my snow and I'm ready for spring. Anybody else feel that way? Or is it just me? So I am going to pop the sentiment up. And again, this is going to just be a simple card. Just like so. All right, and I'm going to grab one more little thing over here. I had my first COVID vaccine on Wednesday. And I did very well with it, I must say, except all of a sudden today I have like a little bit of a runny nose. So I don't know if that's a side effect or what, but I apologize. I should have brought some extra tissues in here with me. So I'm going to try not to be sniffing in my snot too much. I know that's a little weird, but just being honest. So here we have this, stand tall and stand out. All right, so one really simple card. Okay, so that's an easy one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make the next one a little bit fancier. It's not going to be super fancy because I probably made this one a little bit more of a medium card because we totally could have left out the stamping on the background. I think what I'm going to do for the second one is I want to die cut the layer beneath with the pearlized paper. And I'm going to pop the whole thing up. And we're going to do a little bit more stamping in the background. And I want to add, for the third one, I definitely have an idea of what I want to do. But I want to add something to the second one, but I'm just not 100% sure yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, let's see. I'm trying to grab a big enough piece of pearlized paper that I have here. We could even do it with a little strip. So the other thing you could have done with this, and I might do this for the third one, is you could just run a piece across the middle in the back. And I think I'm going to do that for number 3 card. But I have to grab a piece for number 2 card. So give me 1 second. Oh, you know what? I bought a whole big pack of it. So I like the pearlized paper so much. I bought an extra package. Brass. Oh, darn it. I thought I did. Hold on. It might be in my other stack. Just bring this over. It'll make it a little bit easier. So, here it is. Okay. This is a cool thing, just in case you've never seen. When I do my paper shares, they all come in their own envelope with a label on them. So they're all organized. You'll know exactly what paper. If you want to order a new one, you'll know exactly which one you want. So I'm going to take one of these out. And we're going to use the same thing with our pineapple. I'm going to die cut this. And what I'm going to bring in, because I really, really like this set, and I want to make sure this isn't too big. Nope, perfect. So I'm using the largest stitched scallop rectangle, and this is part of the So Sentimental bundle. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut this. And I think I'm going to add an embossed layer on the back over the card. So I'm just going to fit this in. And you can definitely use a smaller piece, but I'm just going to pop this in like that. And I'm going to use a piece of tape kind of here on the side to keep it still. So I'm going to cut this. Then we'll do the next part. All right. And I think I'm going to stick with the mango because I do really like it. It's a super bright and cheery card. Oh, I missed just a little bit of the edge there. So what I'm going to do is, so I kind of missed this little teeny part here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in. So this is kind of my fault because what I did was I put it so close to the edge. I'm going to put this back in and run it through the middle just to get that little piece there. All right, so that little pop just fell right off. So I have that. So we're going to do that. And let me move this out of the way. I'm going to grab another mango. So I might as well just do the third card with mango too because I think it looks really pretty. So I'm going to just take a full sheet of Mango Melody. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score it. So I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. Move this up for a second. So this is a top folding card, which sometimes we also call a hot dog because a hamburger would be wide. So what we're going to do is we're going to score it first. So scoring at 4, 4 1/4. Nope, we're going to score it at 5 1/2. Thinking backwards. We're going to score it at 5 1/2. And then we're going to turn it and cut it at 4 1/4. And then we'll have 2 bases. So just in case you've never done that before, that's a pretty simple thing to do. I'm going to add one more thing to this one though. So I want to grab one more piece of mango. And I think for the third one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So this one, I'm actually going to trim at 4 inches. And then I'm going to trim at 5 1/4 because I want to layer. And even though I know it's the same color, what I'm going to try to go for hopefully will look really fun. So I'm going to take this layer. So this is going to be our base. And let me just flatten that. So this is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm actually going to stamp this and then I'm going to emboss it. But I want this to be a little bit more, I don't really want to say stand out, but I want it to be just a little bit more to it. So I'm going to stamp this one with pumpkin pie this time. I'm still going to do the same thing with the pineapple. And you could totally do it with Daffodil Delight if you wanted to, but I want to make this just a little bit more. And I'm not exactly sure how much is going to stand out because we do have the slightly smaller die cut with that So Sentimental, so it could be a little bit bigger. So I went around the edge. Then what I'm going to do is, just in case anything sticks out, I'm going to make some backwards pieces. I'm not going to do it on the whole thing. But that way, in case there's a missing spot, it'll kind of fill it in a little bit. That looks good. Okay. So again, that was Mango Melody with pumpkin pie. Of course, the Rainbow Stamper is totally thrilled about the snow because, you know, kids love snow, number one. He's not thrilled when they miss school or have late school, but he got a four-wheeler. We gave him a four-wheeler for Christmas. It's an electric, a smaller one. He absolutely loves that. He rode it in the snow last time, which was pretty hilarious. So now I'm going to take the Tasteful Textile folder. This is a 3D folder, and I'm going to run this through, and I want it to be raised. So I'm actually going to put it upside down. So this part will give that debossed look, but I want it to be raised on the other side. So I'm going to flip it over so our stamping is on the other side. So it's kind of like that. And I'm going to run this through. Wrong one. I still get these mixed up. This one, when they don't have the Sizzix on it, is when you need to use your blue plate if you have one. If not, you kind of have to dance around with your shims a little bit, which I know can be sometimes a little bit of a pain, but someone else told me that you can get this blue adapter plate at a big box store. You probably can also get it on Amazon, but I'm pretty sure that Michael's, Joann's, probably Hobby Lobby, you can get one of those as well. In case you don't have it. They only kind of carried it for a limited time because then they came out with their own machine. So, cold in northern Indiana, I bet. So, it does have the pineapples. It has a lot of texture to it. One other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take it one step further. And I just want to sponge the edges just a little bit. So, I'm going to go back one more time. And I'm going to actually just do this with mango. And I'm going to find another side. So, this is the side I used for the bumblebee. I'm going to use the other side, and I want to sponge just the edges a little bit of this layer. You could also do this, would be really fun if you did it with crumb cake. Sahara sand sometimes can be a little bit of a weird tan color, so I wouldn't necessarily do that. And I think soft suede would be a little bit too dark, but crumb cake would look really cool because it would give it like a really aged look. And one other thing you can do, which is kind of fun, and I'm going to show you. I'm just going to do it to make it easier. One other thing you can do is after you've done this, so you could just lay this as it is, or you can actually crumple it up and then smooth it back out and stick it on there. That's another fun thing to do with a card layer, even after you've embossed it, because it will give it a little bit of something to it. So I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to crumple the whole thing up. I'm trying not to be too crazy that I rip it. Probably the most part you have to be more delicate with is when you smooth it back out. But so we'll take this back out, and you can kind of do it again up in a couple areas. One thing to note, you definitely will end up with inky fingers, especially if you recently sponged it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that one more time, just to make sure I have a little bit of ink on here. And then I'm just going to kind of go over those folded places. And I know you're not going to see a lot of them because it's going to be covered, but it's enough that it kind of gives like a really cool look to the back. Okay, so that looks good. Now I'm going to do one other thing, and you're going to probably think I'm crazy, but I'm going to show you anyway. So I have just a piece of scrap here, and just to kind of flatten it enough, I'm going to put it here and just kind of press it out so it's a little bit flat that it will at least stick to our cardstock piece. You don't want it so flat that you take out the embossing and the crinkles, but just a little bit flatter for adhesion. You definitely want to make sure you use some really good adhesive on this. So I would say one of two things you could use. You could use Stampin' Seal, but I'm going to tell you, between you and I, all of you and I have sometimes a hard time getting it to grip onto the paper, especially once it's crinkled. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put some tear and tape on the back. You could also use a good amount of liquid glue, but I'm just going to put a couple strips of tear and tape. So I'm going to kind of press it as I go. Put one here at the bottom. And I'm going to put just a little bit in the middle. Just like a couple little pieces. Okay, so just like that. And then just make sure that this is pressed in. Okay. All right, so we have our base. We have our, where did you go? Here it is. We have our layer. Okay, we have our pineapple. I do still have to just sponge these slightly. I'm not sure that this one needs a lot, but I'm still going to do it anyway. So this one still has enough bumblebee that I'm just going to kind of slightly do the same thing I did. So I was kind of sticking to one side and to the bottom to make it a little bit darker. And then just a little bit on this side. That's good. And then with this one, I'm going to flip these up. Just so I can hit them with a little something. Get that little piece out. Okay. Again, this was Granny Apple Green. You can kind of hit, if you pull back on the tips as you do it, it'll kind of get the other side as well. All right, so there's that. And let me wipe this because the only other thing I forgot is I didn't do the insides. So let's put this down and then we'll get that. So I'm going to go ahead and take my release paper off. Oops, this one's got a weird spot. Let me take it from the other side. And I think this would be a super cool card to send to a preteen or a teenager, because especially in today's world of social media, you know how they all like to do everything everybody does. I know I was kind of like that in school, but I also wanted to do my own thing. But I think today more than ever, you need people to know that being different, standing up, stand out, is a great thing to do. All right, so again, this isn't going to be completely flat, so you can see, because I didn't glue down all of the bumps because I wanted it to have texture. I'm going to put this up on dimensional, so I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the other side. You could also do an adhesive foam sheet if you wanted to. You could do fun foam. I know a lot of people, the adhesive sheets can be a little bit expensive, and I can understand that completely. They are kind of fun, though, to be able to use once in a while. And I think that looks okay. So we're going to put this. But before I put this down, I think I'm going to kind of look and see where I want to put this. So I think I did this backwards because I wanted the dark at the bottom. All right, so I'm going to peel my adhesive layer off. Oh, you're welcome, Diana. I'm glad you got it. I hope your mom is doing well. Hope you had a good visit with her. And I'm going to be running a new one. So no more January 2021. I did not draw the winner yet. I have to send out my January thank yous. So for now, do February 2021. So if you are watching after the fact, February 2021 is what you want to add. So I have all of the adhesive there. I'm going to just kind of gently tack this down just to make sure I like where everything is. Same thing with this. I'm going to pull the back off. Oh, I'm glad she's doing well. That's fabulous. And I'm thinking about our friend, I think it was Amy that was watching the other day on Facebook. She just found out her mom was very sick and doesn't have very long to live. And that has been on my mom. Again, my mom passed away. It'll be next Friday. And it's going to be 6 years. I still cannot believe it's been that long. But it doesn't make me miss her any less, that's for sure. Now we've had a lot. This has been a rough year for a lot of people. Actually, probably now rough, what, year and a half we're working on. Okay, so this is kind of where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and press that down. And I think before I put this on too, I'm also going to put the sentiment on here. But what I'm going to do a little bit different is I'm going to stamp the sentiment again. And this time I think I'm going to do it in black so it really stands out. So it really stand tall and stand out. But I'm going to put a little something behind it too. So I just have to look for what I want to put behind it. So I have this here. Other side. Maybe I use this side. Looks like this paper has been through testing because it's got a lot of little smudges and goopy spots on it. All right, so there's that. And let's see. And this one is almost cut in a wacky spot. It's so close, but I'm going to make it work just because I already stamped it. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Just going to cut it on a diagonal. And we'll go that way. This is going to have a little, it has a tiniest little nick in here. We'll see if I can get rid of it without, well, I might be able to cut just below. Straight. Okay, so there's that. But I want to add something to it so it's just not exactly the same. So I'm going to just peek really quick. And I think I'm going to bring in just a small piece of this. No, it might be a little bit crazy, but let's see. What looks kind of pineapple-esque. This is the Forever Greenery paper, just in case. This is just one that was handy. I probably could have picked out something that was a little bit orangey. I think this looks pretty good. So let me see if I have a piece of that. Let me see what this side looks like. Oh, we're going to do that. Only because it's already there. And it'll be easy to do. I'm going to grab my trimmer, though, and see if I can make this into a little bit smaller of a piece. So this is a really skinny piece. So I think I'm going to just go with a 1/2 inch. So just a little scrap. Yep. That'll be good enough. So this is just the opposite side. You could use either one, but this one, kind of thinking. Yeah. No, I'm going to use that side. I really would have liked to have grabbed the other one, but I think it's still a full 12 by 12, and that just feels like it would be so much work for you guys. All right, so I have this way. I think I'm going to go the same direction, but I want to make it a little bit longer. So that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to just use some liquid glue to put these together. So just kind of sticking it. It doesn't even need to be like in the middle. You could also do it so it's kind of sticking off. But I'm going to put this one in the center because it's so tiny and because I kind of already stuck it there anyway. So we have that. And we're going to just put this right across here. So I'm going to put him on. Same thing. I'm just going to use a little liquid glue. I could put another dimensional, but it's already kind of tall. So we're going to go just like that. Oh, look, it sticks just like the perfect size that it's on there. I am going to hold this for 1 second before I adhere it, though. Oh my goodness. Amy, you still haven't gotten your stuff? Holy cow. And I sent that as a 2-day priority. That kind of makes me sad because meanwhile, people in California get stuff and 2-day priority here in Maryland hasn't come. I'm so sorry, Amy. That stinks because that's where your club projects are as well. I put it all in one bundle. Tour of Maryland. I don't know how much Maryland it needs to tour. I mean, it wasn't even going very far. I probably could have driven it there 4 times faster. Oh, that's great. You know, 91-year-olds are tough. Okay, so I've just removed the dimensionals, and I'm just going to put this here. All right, so I don't know. After these two, this one's doesn't have a lot to it, but still it is pretty interesting. This second one, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to top this with the third one, but I'm going to try. And I did say I wanted to get out some of the gilded leafing for this one. So it's not going to be heat set. I'm going to do it a little bit different. So hopefully this is going to work. And I'm going to see if we like what we did. So again, I have this base. We're going to stick with mango. And just give me 1 second because I'm just trying to think of, I might pull out a piece of, nope, that's the right one. I might pull out a piece of this is the In Good Taste DSP, which I love. I think I'm going to do a piece of this, but I want a darker one. So I want maybe some wood paneling look in the background. That might look kind of fun. So you also have this one. It's a little dark. I want to kind of go for something in between these two. So let me see if I can grab one in here really quickly. No, there's got to be another. That's dark. I love this paper. I don't know. I don't know what happens because you guys know I don't really know anything. I think I'm going to go for this one. I don't really know anything. And this one's nice too. I'm going to go with this because it kind of looks more like a old tropical hut, right? And I am going to cut it so it's vertical, okay? What I was getting at is I really, really hope by some miracle that they end up keeping this paper. They don't usually carry paper over. I mean, that one year they carried over the wood textures DSP. That was like a miracle in itself because they typically get new paper every single time. But this paper is so versatile. And if I find out it's on the retirement list, I'm going to have to order another pack of it because I have plenty of it left. But still not enough. All right, so there's that. I think I'm going to emboss this with the plank folder. And yeah, definitely. Let me grab that. Okay. So just to give it a little bit of a raised feel. So I'm going to put this through. And again, this is going to deboss it. This one's going to make it raised. So I'm going to put it this way. And let me see if that kind of... Oh, this one doesn't have a line on it. Maybe because it's Sizzix. So I'm going to move this kind of up to the top and kind of line it up with the edge. I'm going to put this one in. This one I think goes in with the regular folders. Let me see. But I think we only use one. So I think you just use one plate and not the magnetic, the regular base. Let me see if I can crank this through. Yep, that was it. And I'm going to go back and forth just so I get a deeper groove. See what it looks like. Oh, that looks good. It's probably very hard to see, but you can see the planks in the wood, which kind of gives it a really cool look. So that, and I might need to trim this down a little bit because it kind of flattens the paper out. So I'm going to check this. I might have to recut it a teeny bit. And then the other thing we have to do is we have to cut out our pineapple again, because I only did 2. So I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to show you how to put the adhesive on in case you've never done it. So we're going to put another pineapple top here. Now, it's not going to be covered by the whole thing most likely. And if it's not, it's fine. You really just want, so you have a little bit of adhesive to kind of hook on. So I'm going to put this one in this way. And I'm going to show you again with the bumblebee. I just have a little scrap piece. Actually, you know what? I have this piece and I used it for something else, but it'll add a little color to it. So let's see what this one looks like. Might look terrible, and if so, we'll recut it. But basically, when you have your adhesive sheet, so this is the last third, what you do, move these two over, I'll move this over too, is, this is the way I do it anyway, is I take, so you want it to be on the opposite side of whatever. So since this has ink on it, I'm going to lift this up. And for some reason, I usually use the middle piece first, probably because it's easier. I'm going to lift this up and I'm just going to line it up right here at the end, kind of right with the end of the paper, and smooth it down. So then you have your edge here. So I kind of do that with my nail just to stop the adhesive. And then this is where I get into trouble because I've been using these snips, but I just trim this off. So then you still have, I still have this little piece left, which I can use for something else. Also, as an FYI, if you're ever doing anything with ink blending or you're using the masks, you can use this to keep your fingers clean. My fingers are never clean. Clearly, you see, I practice, or I say I don't practice what I preach. So I'm going to run this through with the pineapple dye, and we'll see what it looks like. It might look terrible that I need another one, but it might look fine. We're going to sponge it a little bit anyway, so it could still be perfectly usable. So I'm just going to put both of these on. And since these have a lot of spaces, I'm just going to run it through twice. So I'm going to go back and forth. Okay. The mail is horrible, I know. And the funny thing is, though, is that I've gotten things from really far away places, but still, they have never received our Home Depot bill payment from December. Which is just crazy. So I'm going to poke this out. I'm going to see what it looks like. That way, if it looks terrible, we'll grab another one. Okay. I don't think it looks so bad. I think it looks good enough to use. If you don't like it, just use a plain piece. But I'm just getting rid of some paper. And again, this one was with the old olive. Now, I do still have some adhesive, so I could use this from something else. So I'll probably keep this maybe for like a circle punch or circle die cut or something like that. So I'm going to move this over. And I think that's all we're going to do with this. The rest of it is going to be on here. Other thing I want to do is I just want to make sure that this is trimmed down a little bit. So I'm going to take this and just check it again. I want it to be 4 by 5 1/4. I'm actually going to flip it over. So it's still 4. 5 1/4. I'm going to take just a teeny bit off because I feel like it's almost so stretched out from being run through the die cut machine. I'm taking 1/8 of an inch off that I just want to make it just a little bit lighter. Okay, so that looks good. And what we're going to do for this, again, there's no stamping on this one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my silicone mat and my tear and tape, okay? So I'm going to turn it this way so I can hopefully try to make a straight line. So I'm just going to run this across. And I might add something else to this, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So bear with me. I'm just kind of running this as close to each other. So I have two strips right next to each other. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I want to move a lot of this stuff out of the way so I don't make a holy mess here. Okay. So I'm going to peel this off. You could probably even do this with 3 strips, but I'm going to see what 2 looks like. So I have my 2 strips, and I'm just going to kind of fold the edge pieces so it doesn't go over. Then I'm going to open this, and I'm going to grab some of this leafing and just kind of press it. This leafing is a little bit unusual to get used to, specifically in the winter, because it can be a little bit staticky and airborne. But honestly, once you play with it probably 3 times, you'll totally get the hang of it. So it's a little bit weird at first, but I love using it. It's so much fun. Just gonna grab a couple other little pieces. Just like that. I have one other technique that I keep meaning to use this for, and I keep forgetting. So I'm going to have to try that. Not today. I'll have to do it. Maybe we can do it next Wednesday. By the way, when I get my second COVID vaccine, which isn't until March 3rd, I will not be able to be live the day after because I don't think that's going to prove to be very smart. So I will let you guys know closer to when that is. So I'm just kind of pressing this in with my finger. Okay, so what I'm going to do, get this at the edge, is just tap it off. Okay, I'm going to put this on the side. I'm going to pick up just these couple bigger flakes and see if I can put them back in there. The rest of it, honestly, if you open this jar, there is so much in here. I'm going to try to throw this away without making a mess. Yeah, that's going to need a wet towel. I'll do that later. So then what I'm going to do is I have this little crazy foot scrubber. It's got good bristles. You could use this. You could use a stiff old paintbrush as well. So this one will work nicely because the bristles are stiff. But what you want to do is just kind of get the stuff off of the edge. So you can use that, or this is never used on a foot, I promise. Something with a stiff, someone else mentioned a bristle brush. Okay, so that looks good. And then again, I'm going to take this over the trash can and just kind of tap it. All right, so there's that. And I'm going to use my microfiber to clean this off because it'll suck up all those little things. Okay, so then we're going to just assemble this. And I'm not sure if we should or shouldn't add this little panel too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up and then, I'm going to do one other thing before we're done. One more thing. I'm going to just do a couple of these because why not? Just around the side. Flip them around over here too. Probably not going to notice them, but it'll just give like a little something to the edge there. That's good. So that was mango on mango. Move my pineapple. One more little swipe here. Okay. And I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to kind of put it where I want it. And we're going to see what we think about whether or not we need that little layer. I think the layer would be kind of pretty. So what do you guys think? I'm going to go ahead and sponge this a little bit while I'm here. I'm going to ink this up a little bit more. And let me know. I think it would be kind of nice to have that white offset. So let me know what you guys think. Oops. And we'll go from there. You have buffalo plaid pineapple. Who'd have thought, right? There's that. Go ahead and put that again. That was Bumblebee cardstock. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Granny Apple onto the Old Olive. Move this over. Let me flip these dudes up. Yes, white. Linda says white. All right, we will add that white. All I have to do is die cut it. That should be pretty quick. Put a little bit darker down at the bottom this time. And this was with Granny Apple. So Granny Apple green. Okay, for that one. Move these. I'm going to have to clean those off. Wipe this. We'll cut our last pearlescent piece. And how about this for that last piece? Have a piece here. I'm going to do something extra. So I'm going to die cut this. And then I'm going to emboss it with that texture, Tasteful Textile. I'm going to do that. So this one is plain. So I think I just need this and this. Okay. but I need this first. So let me die cut and then emboss, and then we'll assemble. Hope you guys like these. This was fun. Again, I really only started this morning with one idea that I had written down, and then I was downstairs watching a crazy TV show. Let me go this way with the rainbow stamper. And I was sitting there looking at my notes that I wrote down, and I thought, oh, this would be a good idea. I could do like 3 different versions of a card, even though I didn't have them prepared. So I kind of had one idea, but it turned out to be fun. All right, so I have that piece cut. So I still have a 2-inch piece here. This one cut all the way this time, so that's good. And we're going to just emboss this through here. You might lose a little bit of the stitching detail, but I'm kind of okay with that. We'll just make it a little bit funny. So again, this is the pearlescent specialty paper. I really hope this carries over, but I don't know. Some of these papers are such a limited time. Oops, not enough. I need one more. I dropped something on the floor. I'm sure somebody's going to come up here to make sure I didn't fall and hit my head. Wrong again. Blue. Blue. It's funny too, because for a while with all these embossing folders, I actually had notes written down, but so we didn't lose all of the stitching. You can still see it on there. So we'll go with that, add it, and put this whole thing together. The only thing we have to add still is our sentiment. So let me put this down. I'm going to put this down with liquid glue. Nope, nobody came to check on me. I guess they probably like, oh, she's just really crafting today. And pop this in. So again, this was the In Good Taste paper. There's lots of different wood textures in there. So, and this is just a tiny bit off here. I'm probably gonna end up trimming that. So I'm gonna give this just a second. I'm gonna press. Oh, thanks, Melanie. Thanks for stopping by. All right, this one I'm going to pop up on dimensionals. So. And honestly, now looking at this, I don't know. Oh, I don't want to take that off yet. I don't know which one's going to be the stepped up card, because number 2 and number 3 are both kind of fancy. So this one had 2 different pieces that it was stuck on. So I'm going to just try to pick one and pull it off. There we go. And 2. The only thing you have the hazard of this getting stuck with is sometimes when it sticks to the back of the adhesive. But honestly, it's not even too hard to get out. As long as you pop them down, they come off pretty easily. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I had that one little dimensional down there sticking. So I'm going to put this here at the bottom. Just kind of eyeballing it. I'm going to put this behind just a little bit. Looks pretty good. Okay. Let me pull the rest of these off. So you could save these for any occasion, make them ahead of time. To be a nice graduation card too. College, high school, even kindergarten. Hopefully we'll have some sort of a graduation this year. We didn't have one last year, which was kind of stinky. So I'll put that there. I'm going to go down a little bit. And just now that I have it all adhered, I'm giving the pineapple just a little final press. Okay. You just get rid of all this garbage. We'll add our sentiment. And I think I have that piece of white paper here one more time. And yeah, I'll do this one this time in Granny Apple Green. So let me just stamp this. Okay. That was my lazy way of cleaning my stamps. Go on this side, go over a little bit. All right, so Granny Apple really does make that stand out. Snip this. Just gonna do still the same thing. And I'm just kind of trimming right below the words. And then right above. Okay. So you have a little black blob on the back. There's that. And we'll add this little piece instead. And I'm going to make this one so it kind of is offset. I think this might need to be halved. Just change this to a 1/2 inch. And usually when I cut designer series paper, because it's so thin, I kind of will start my trimmer blade in the center and go back and forth, because that way I notice it won't kind of crumple up one side if you start at the end, but if you start at the middle and go back and forth, it works out pretty well. So just a little tip there for you. And we're gonna put this kind of like up a little bit. So just a little liquid glue kind of near the bottom, like so. You can even add another piece if you wanted to behind it. So like a larger inch piece between these two. We're gonna go like that. Could add a piece of ribbon if you wanted to. Oh, this will kind of go nicely with that little gold. It'll be kind of like the gold background. Move this just a little. It's a teeny bit crooked. Okay, so there you have it. 3 cards with pretty much the same supplies. We did change inks a little bit, but otherwise, for the most part. And honestly, the only thing we used from the Friendly Flamingo was the sentiment. That was it, okay? We used most everything else from Timeless Tropical. We used the pineapple stamp, and then we used the dies. So these are the coordinating dies. This doesn't come with a stamp set, but if you buy them as a bundle, you do save 10%. So this is a set of the dies that coordinate with it. And then the other thing we used was the So Sentimental bundle. Comes with these stitched scalloped rectangles. It also has these dies, which are really great too. But I find that I like these a lot when I'm doing them for sentiments on the front, but man, I use these rectangles way more than I thought I would. I thought I would use this more, but these are great. I did use the largest one, so that was pretty fun as well. I hope you guys enjoyed these cards. I want to just push this one down just a little bit more. I did not do the insides today, but I did do 3 rather involved cards. So what I'm going to do is I'll just put a piece of Whisper White on the inside of each of them, and I might just add something like maybe a pineapple on the inside, or you could use the, I think this is a plumeria. I could be wrong, but you could stamp the flower on the inside or something small. And you could even go so far as to add a little bit of something like the leaves or this little vine, or even a tiny flower from Friendly Flamingo if you wanted to. But again, I usually don't add a sentiment to the inside until I know exactly what it is I want to do it for, unless it's a card where you kind of really can't go more than one direction with it. So before we end, I'm just going to check through, make sure I didn't miss any questions on here. Hi, Carol. Thank you for joining me. All right, let's see. Yeah, so you have some old and some new. I'm feeling very well. Actually, I didn't have any problems at all after the first shot. Not even a headache, which is unusual. Went from Lintham Heights to Severna Park. Oh my goodness, that is insane. I do hope you get it together. I hope you get it today so you can start crafting, because they're pretty fun. You'd rather have snow. I know, it is worse to have the cold weather with no snow. It stinks. I know, Mary, I feel the same way. I'm a little concerned about the second one myself. You got 9 inches. Oh my goodness, Marlene, that is crazy. And I know, Amy, I think it depends on where you are on whether or not it's going to be rain or snow. I'm usually on more of the line since we're near 95. You're ready for spring the day after Christmas. That's hilarious. All right, I think I answered everything. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Hey, Brina, I see you just popped in. This is a really fun set of cards, so make sure you can go back and watch it. It will reload. It probably takes about 15 minutes on YouTube to reload. But also, when you're watching these videos, so if you're watching on the replay, make sure you go with February 2021. It does have to be the whole thing. So February 2021. And I will draw some winners for a prize once we get to the end of the month. I do have to go back and do my January winners and my January thank you cards for my purchases. So I always try to send that out. So maybe I will take some pictures of these and send these out because these are pretty fun cards to create as well. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and wherever you are, you're doing something fun and having some sunshine come in your window. I will see you guys again on Thursday evening, I believe. Probably, I've been trying to start at 5 o'clock instead of 5:30, just so we're not quite all the way through dinner to bedtime. So 5 o'clock, I usually am doing it on Facebook, and I've been doing Saturdays on YouTube, and I might start Saturdays at 9 o'clock. So stay tuned. If I change a time, I will post it onto my Facebook page. If you have any questions about these cards or the supplies used, you can send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. If you'd like to purchase any of these supplies, you can get them in my online store 24/7, rachthestamper.stampinup.net. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourself.